G'day walkers, it's the bloke who walks here. Welcome to part 2 of the content creator summary for getting vaxxed at the Vaccine Hub located at the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, Australia.
Today we're in Melbourne, Australia.
I'm assuming that you've never seen this channel before. I'm going to talk as though you've never listened to one of these commentaries before.
Over 200 days.
And straight off the bat, usually these commentaries are about strategy and how I go about putting together content for this channel.
Today we're walking from the Alfred
in this case, this is the second of 2 videos that I'm doing to document my experience getting the first and second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. It's not a, I'm not going to be flogging a dead horse or commenting about why you should get a vaccine. I might mention something about how the government rolled it out, but it's nothing about that, why you should do it, and banging on about that. I wanted to document my experience getting the vaccine in terms of like how difficult and challenging it was just to even get in the door. To get the shot, the first shot, the second shot, and in fact I had to go 3 times to the same venue, and it just wasn't as easy as the government and the media were trying to make out. Like, and there's still even it's like today I'm recording this video commentary on the 25th, Monday the 25th of October 2021, and you'll notice in the titles at the start of this video that I went for my second dose on the 17th of August 2021. So in the middle of winter, as you can see, those people well rugged up. It was a little bit windy, and this is after I got the dose, after I got the second shot. So I've already got the second shot there, and we're walking through Fawkner Park, which is directly across the road from the Alfred Hospital. And we're still, are we in the intro? I'm interrupting myself because I'm not recognizing. It's a long time since I've watched this footage, so apologies. I'm just distracted by by what I'm seeing on screen. Sorry, we're 2.5 minutes in and I haven't really got to the point yet. So the point is that for me personally, it just wasn't as simple as calling a phone number, booking easily. Even once I had the appointment booked and I got to the Alfred Hospital, I was there was so many questions about my that I was actually supposed to even be there, let alone getting the shot. So I wanted to document that because, and just to quickly reiterate, this is the second commentary. So in the first commentary, you'll hear me talk about, how I came to this, how I came through the decision process to get the vaccine in terms of like, getting on my bike once I decided to get it, and that I need to get it very soon because the Delta variant was going just going through the population of India, and but you can hear all about that in the first commentary, and I'll put a link in there for you. So I'm not going to cover old ground, but the short story is leading into this video is that I went on the 28th of May. I had to wait 3 weeks that I booked the appointment, so it was early May. I had to wait 3 weeks, and I got all the way down on the first day of lockdown 4 in Melbourne, and I was finally allowed in, and ran through the questions with the nurse in the clinic, and they told me to go to my GP. So this is where this commentary is picking up, that I was refused the vaccine on my past medical history, that I was going to be given AstraZeneca, and I was told to go to my GP. So I want to document this for the record, that it's besides the fact that the Australian Federal Government, and this isn't a political statement, this is just fact, besides the fact that the Australian Federal Government mismanaged to the point of mishandling and were culpable from a public standpoint of their failure to even ensure that the Australian population, eligible population, even had a supply of vaccines to go and to have access to book in the first place. The terminology that was applied to it by the population and the Australian media was the stroll out of the vaccine, not roll out, stroll out, because it dawned on me in May that you know, as keeping up with the coverage, the media coverage, and how things were going, like the vaccines, I forget when they were starting to get put together, whether it's late 2020. But it dawned on me while I was watching all this horrible news from India for about 3 weeks. We were bombarded with all this print and visual media and internet media about all these horrible scenes in India with this thing called the Delta variant. And the same as in Italy, when I saw that, and it really started to hit me, well, this is going to take hold in Australia, so I better get, you know, I hadn't heard anything from my GP. I hadn't heard anything from any hospital. There was really nothing in the media as far as advertisements by the government. There was no commentary by the federal government or the federal health minister about how you go about getting a vaccine, even promoting the vaccine to the point where you know, any positive sort of commentary about go and get vaccinated. It was just non-existent is the best word for it. So I took it upon myself. So this is where, you know, my story starts, is that when I was refused on the 28th of May at the Vaccine Hub at the Alfred Hospital, they wanted some paperwork filled out by my doctor. So once I got outside, I was able to make an appointment to go straight to my GP. That took I had to wait 2 hours. I had to get breakfast. It was about a 2 to 3 hour window that I had to wait to get into the GP. I was able to see her, which was, you know, which was good, and get all that out of the way. So she had to fill out some paperwork for the hospital, and then it had to be emailed through.
We're in our 6th.
So you would think, well,
and we've just been
nothing. And in all fairness to everybody, you know, the government, the federal health officials, the state health officials, the hospital, the GPs, you know, they're all making it up on the run. I acknowledge that. And I'm a fairly passive person, like fairly, you know, I wasn't going to be, you know, bashing on anyone's doors, but I waited 3 weeks. And I heard nothing from my GP, I heard nothing from the government, I heard nothing from the hospital that I'd submitted this paperwork that I was told to submit. And for about 3 weeks I waited, and eventually I thought to myself, well, I haven't heard anything, so obviously I better follow it up. I rang up my GP, and again, this isn't being negative or having a go at anyone, this is just simply stating the facts of what my experience was, because I think that, you know, maybe you know, the people who in the government or the media bleating about, oh, people are slow to take it up, or there's vaccine hesitancy. Well, my experience is an example of a undocumented experience, as far as I can tell, in the media about just how challenging it was for a person born in Australia, speaks, you know, native English, and still, even though my medical history isn't a huge hurdle for anyone to deal with, that I found it very challenging. And so in the follow-up phone call I made in late May, the first week of June, so late June, mid to late June, I rang my GP and explained to the receptionist that I was following up about the paperwork that they sent to the hospital on my behalf, and I hadn't heard anything. Could they follow it up? And she switched me through to my GP, and I'm going to say, you know, it's an Asian lady, and English isn't her first language, and I then had to go over it again a second and a third time with her, because the receptionist didn't really understand what I was trying to say. And I basically asked the GP if her practice could follow up with a phone call to the Alfred Hospital to see about my paperwork and see about when is my appointment going to be booked and who's going to contact me. And again, not being negative, just documenting what happened in the phone call. She basically went off at me. She was very rude and very terse and very impatient, and her tone of voice was, how dare I ring up and with such a phone call. And her basic reply was, don't worry, just wait, you just need to wait, there's nothing to panic about, there's nothing to worry about, which is not what I was doing. I was just being, I was just looking after my own self, basically. And I might say at this point, the whole way through the whole COVID situation, I've never had a single direct contact from my GP. I've never had any direct contact from any state or federal, no communications via text or email. Like, there's been nothing until recently. Like, you might be familiar with the UK. We're using people from late 2020, like Elton John and J.K. Rowling, I think, a whole lot of famous celebrities, in campaigns telling people to get vaccinated and showing how they were getting vaccinated. Like our own the Australian Prime Minister wasn't vaccinated till maybe May or June of all. It just took ages. So I was just merely being responsible for my own situation. I was really pretty disappointed. I won't say shocked, but I was disappointed that my GP basically refused to help me. So I knew then and there that waiting was never going to be the way to go. And you'll see that we're just reaching the halfway point through Fawkner Park. This is in the inner eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So just looking around down that path, I've just passed that woman. She's walking towards the Alfred Hospital where we've just come from. Again, just to reiterate, this is after I've received my second vaccine dose, and I'm on my way home. And the reason I filmed on the way home and not on the way there is because the first video of this vaccination series actually covers, leaving my home in the eastern suburbs, getting on the train, the whole train ride, changing trains, a short walk from Paran train station to the Alfred Hospital, all up until getting to the queue. So I thought it makes sense to do the journey home just so it breaks it up a bit. So I got straight on the phone again to I think it was the Alfred Hospital, and this time I wasn't successful booking an appointment to go back to them because just briefly. Well, actually, I won't bother telling the backstory to that. You can go and listen to that in the first video. So the Alfred Hospital said, no, you can't book the appointments through us anymore. You've got to ring up the the hotline number, the 1-800 number. And so this is again just an example of why I wanted to document this experience. It just wasn't as simple as ringing up one number, having one conversation with one representative and getting your appointment book. I had to make 5 to 6 to 7 phone calls, repeat phone calls to the hotline number because their database, I had to speak to a different person each time. I had to explain my situation each time. I had to make them look for the document. No, I had to make them look in their database for my first vaccine, for my first appointment where I was refused each time. And most times that I rung up, it was a 10 to 25 minute phone call, sometimes waiting on hold, sometimes having a very short conversation where the person just basically told me to hang up and ring back again the next day. Some people were incredibly friendly. But nobody really took responsibility or accountability for my situation because I was starting to get impatient. I was starting to think that I was going to miss out. And you've got to remember at this stage, in the middle of July, that Australia had no strategy for, there was no dose of the vaccine being administered by pharmacies. Very few doctors' surgeries were being sent the vaccine, especially if they weren't hotspots, of which there was, obviously we're in lockdown 6 by the time this video is recorded. So the opportunities to get the vaccine were actually really thin. And again, I just underline for that reason, that's why I'm committing this record, so that it's documented that it, besides the topic of vaccine hesitancy, which is well known around the world. After August, there was some horrible violent protests in Melbourne by people that didn't even want to be vaccinated, or were tired of the lockdowns, or just basically troublemakers. But then something not spoken about was my experience. And so, as I said, 6 to 7 to 8 repeat phone calls over the best part of, the start of July. No, the middle of June, the end of June. And finally, because the other thing was, there was a database aspect where some operators said to me, "Oh, look, no, sorry, there's no, the Alfred Hospital is no longer open on our database taking bookings for the vaccine." And despite me saying, "Look, I've had some paperwork sent by my GP, they already processed me as an inpatient. I've got a patient number at the Alfred Hospital." The call centre operators were adamant, "No, sorry, can't do anything for you." And we're just now heading up to the north side of Fawkner Park, and in a second the camera is going to wheel left. That's the main. Oh, you're kidding. Oh no, that's I deliberately put a freeze frame in there, which I forgot about. So that's the main road in front of us. We're just turning left, just having a quick look at the sign there for Fawkner Park. We're now looking west towards St Kilda Road, if you know Melbourne at all. If you don't, you can Google it. And we're going to get on the tram, the 58 tram. We're going to cross to the right-hand side of the road. So now that we've got our bearings, to pick up this anecdote of my experience, is that it got to the stage where I realised that I was never going to be likely to succeed at booking my vaccination appointment. So. And I'm sorry, I'm just pausing because I'm trying to remember if I covered that in the first commentary. And I can't remember, to be honest. I haven't listened to it. That's right. No, I know where I am. So apologies there, but I like to speak off the cuff. Because I figure it's more interesting and more dynamic for you to listen to. So apologies if you're the type of person that wants a really straightforward audio track. So after all those phone calls and waiting so many days and being patient and trying to do the right thing and not being one of those annoying people that ring up and demand, because that's not my nature, I realised that I'd have to step outside my comfort zone and really push. And it occurred to me that I was never going to get an appointment booked over the phone at the Alfred Hospital. But one thing I did know for sure was that my GP had emailed the completed paperwork, the 3 pages of paperwork, to the hospital. So I knew they had it, and I had a copy of that. So I did something that I never usually do. I basically decided to push in, and almost out of turn. And here we are on the tram, the 58 tram. We're heading east, towards Sth Yarra. And in the middle of this video is I've put some teaser clips, so that's why it's jumping around a bit, because I'm trying to give the viewer a taste of what's to come in the video. And in a moment it'll switch back to the tram stop, and we'll continue our journey. So I did this 3 times in this particular video, just to break it up. And here we are back at the tram stop.
Welcome to This Walking Life. Today we're in Melbourne, Australia.
Which is the 20 minute 40 seconds mark.
We're in our 6th
for those of you playing along at home.
Over 200 days.
So
We've just been for our
I basically decided that I'd take the paperwork and present myself to the Vaccine Hub, and basically just basically just explain myself and say, I've done the right thing. You asked me to fill out the paperwork. My GP did that, sent it in as required to this email address. Haven't heard anything, can't book on the phone. I'm an inpatient, which is true, because they gave me an inpatient number when I went there on the 28th of May, which is when they turned me around and asked me for the paperwork. And that's exactly what I did, was that I took myself down there to the Vaccine Hub at the Alfred Hospital. I took myself down there on the 6th of July. So that's a full 6 weeks after I first tried to get my vaccine dose, my first dose. And I was pretty happy to see that there was hardly anyone there. And as it turned out, it was in lockdown 4, I think, possibly. I can't remember. We've had so many. So on the 6th of July, I got to the front of a very short line, and again I was given the 3rd degree in terms of questions, and by this stage the Alfred Hospital had changed its policy that its Vaccine Hub was, from memory, literally they were only giving vaccine doses to their staff, partners of staff, whether it's was nurses or admin or business support people, family and possibly friends of those staff people, but to the general public, of which I was and am, I had no link whatsoever with the Alfred Hospital. I almost got turned away again, basically. So that was the gatekeeper. They had a student nurse on the door as a gatekeeper, just screening everyone who was coming to the door. So luckily I got past that young girl. She was just doing her job, so I didn't have any problem there. Once I got let in, I was told to sit and wait. Another nurse came up, made me explain all the same details again. She told me to keep sitting there. She went and got the clinic, the nursing supervisor who was managing the clinic for that particular shift. That person came up and made me explain for a 3rd time in 10 minutes exactly the same information. She took the paperwork, and it was then I found out that there was another central administration hub, separate to the health system, separate to the hospital system, that was receiving and collating and approving the paperwork being sent in by GPs from all over the state of Victoria. And this is when it all started to fall together, and make sense to me. And at the moment we're in Toorak Road, just slowly walking west towards Sth Yarra Station, and just giving you a taste of life under lockdown in Melbourne. And don't forget that this is recorded after my 2nd dose, even though I'm talking about the 1st dose. So what that clinic supervisor committed to do was to ring up that administration hub and get them to search for the paperwork that had been sent by my GP, which was either waiting in a to-do pile or waiting in an approved pile. And that transition there at 24 minutes 50 seconds, that was I just stopped outside that coffee shop for a coffee, so there was no reason to there was no reason to show you the film of me having a coffee. So she rang up a administration number, and a staff member at the other end found my paperwork, found that it had been approved, and found that it hadn't been actioned and sent back to the Alfred hospital. So, again, this is another reason, practical reason why I'm documenting this story. Just for the record, that this is, imagine if you're a person, with a non-English speaking background, or imagine if you're a person in over 65 and you got bad hearing, or you're not great with technology, or you don't want to make trouble, or you're just waiting to be told what to do, or you're a migrant, or you're an international student. Like if someone like me, born in Australia, 5th generation, fluent native English skills, has this much trouble getting vaccinated, well, no wonder Australia's taken a while to get its act together. Forget about the fact that the Prime Minister and the Federal Health Minister mucked around for so long and dithered getting our vaccine supply sorted out. So you can see lockdown 6, you can see people still standing outside waiting for their coffees, can't go inside, everyone masked up. So up until I had the conversation with that nurse, that she went away to make those inquiries, I was pretty nervous, because I was, right up until then, I was thinking, well, they're going to turn me away again, but at least I got in the door, at least I got to sit down, at least somebody finally listened and somebody took accountability on my behalf. So she came back and she explained everything that I've just basically told you, that yes, they did have the paperwork. No, they hadn't actioned it yet. They just sent it, their approval to the Vaccine Hub at the Alfred Hospital. And they were going to be able to give me that first vaccine dose on the 6th of July 2021. And so that was a relief. That was about 10 to 15 minutes of just sitting in a holding pattern within, right inside the front door of the Vaccine Hub, with not knowing whether I was going to, achieve what I set out to do that day, but luckily I did. So we're up to about a third of the way through this commentary, and so as you can probably see, how this story is going to pan out is that once I got the first dose of what turned out to be the Pfizer vaccine, and again, I'm naming it just as a fact, that's what I got. I'm not saying Pfizer is better than anything else. I'm not complaining about Pfizer. I'm not going to comment on any side effects, or I'm not going to comment on what my thought process was on did I have any worries or concerns of this. I'm not going to share all that, because that's just personal to me. But I made the decision to get vaccinated. It was always going to happen, and I just wanted to document how tricky and almost difficult it was to even just get in the door. So the great thing was that I was able to obviously get presented into one of the cubicles within the Vaccine Hub, and paired up with a nurse who administered the first shot for me. And so the nice thing was that I was booked in straight away for the second dose by the nurse who gave me the shot. So that was a great relief that I knew that date, and as it turned out, that was the 17th of August. I only had to wait. What's that? 6. That's about 7 weeks. I had to wait about 7 weeks for the second dose. I'm not going to comment on why the gap was so big, because my memory's a bit fuzzy. I'm not too interested in being, this isn't a documentary or a reporting commentary on, how my experience lined up with, what the facts were on that day at that time. But you can do do some searching around the internet for how Australia's federal health system gradually, and the state health system gradually reduced the gap between doses from whatever it was, 6 weeks to 4 weeks to 3 weeks. So that was after August, I think that started happening, because I can tell you by the time I got my first dose, the 6th of July, there was a lot of anxiety in the media and the community about this rampaging Delta variant, which was going off the charts, starting to go off the charts in Sydney. There's a lot of distress about this. I'm not even going to comment on how one state or city handled the Delta variant versus Melbourne or whatever. But it's fair to say that, in a nutshell, in a very general comment from me, is that it was for those that hadn't taken action early in April, May or June like I did, it was starting to get very worrying. And so that's the story. So I'm going to finish off I'll finish off the commentary about getting the shots here, I guess, at about the 31 minute mark, 32 minute mark, because there's no need to bang on too much. So fast forward to today. So it's I'm not going to talk about side effects or what I experienced. Like nothing. I'm a very private person, so I'm not interested in putting on record on the internet any further personal stuff. But I just merely want to finish off this first part of the commentary about getting the vaccine. That I found it extremely challenging, and I still have never had any follow up from my GP. In fact, I was there today for a separate reason. I was really surprised. There's been very, it's been a really interesting experience. I can only go back to that. I've said that before. This whole COVID thing has been a very interesting experience. So unless I think of something before this video runs out, I'll say, but we're only about a third the way through, so there's a lot of footage here coming up for another, I think this video goes for another nearly 55 minutes, so we'll just relax at this point and take a deep breath, and I'll go into the second part of this commentary. So we'll just have a brief music interlude here until for a couple of minutes, just to let you as the listener gather your thoughts, and I'll see you. I'll be back with you in 2 minutes. Okay, so welcome back to part 2 of this director's commentary for how I got vaxed, the second dose. So the first half an hour of this commentary, the first 35 minutes, devoted to that. Apologies if it sounded fairly rushed or was all over the place. We've got about an hour to go on this commentary. I'm not really interested in wasting it. So I'm gonna freewheel a bit here. I'm just going to start off by saying that in case you're an overseas listener, Australia is also adopting a vaccine passport type arrangement, and in my hometown, my home state, it's only been announced in this last 3 or 4 days, and boy, my head's spinning with the sudden turnaround from being in this heavy, harsh lockdown number 6. It's the 6th time we've had to go through this, about 280 days since March 2020, when this whole thing broke wide open for me locally and my hometown. So the short story is that now that I've had both my vaccine shots, the Melbourne and Victorian economy is going to be heavily restricted for people who choose not to get vaccinated. So everything outside of doing your shopping, getting your hair cut, the absolute basics of life, outside those absolute basics, if you're not vaccinated, and even if you've chosen to get vaccinated but you still haven't had your second dose, starting last Friday night at 6 o'clock, you can't do anything. You can't go into a restaurant, you can't go to a cinema, you can't go to a nightclub, you can't go into a pub for a beer. Like, it's really heavy-handed, and I don't have too many problems with it, except it also applies to children. It applies to children who are 12 years of age and over who haven't been vaccinated, which I feel quite torn about, because I feel that a child, if you can't drive a car, if you can't vote, if you can't go to a pub for a drink, well, I don't know why you would exclude kids in this situation either, but that's the decision that's been taken, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because there's no political commentary on this. So that just my only other political comment is that it would seem the commentary in the news today is that disappointingly the government may let international tennis players who are not vaccinated come in to Australia to play in the Australian Open in January 2022, and leading that pack of vocal and I'll say whinging and spoilt and entitled international tennis players is Novak Djokovic. I would be I would be infuriated if there was a get out of jail card, if there was a leave pass granted to those guys and girls who are not vaccinated either by choice or by circumstance or just sheer laziness. That there are people in Melbourne who won't be able to go to the Australian Open for whatever reason if they're not vaccinated, and yet these people are allowed into the country and travel, and they've been travelling for the entire period of this COVID pandemic around the world, and enjoying life, making a living, being it just would be the worst possible elitist situation to unfold. I feel it's just I think it would be wrong, but that's the only political comment I'm going to make. And again, that's all I got to say about COVID. My experience getting vaccinated, a brief summary of how badly the federal government stuffed up the rollout and dithered on it, how challenging it was to get an actual booking and actually get the shots, and that's my brief summary of the situation. Lockdown number 6 ended last Friday, the 22nd of October, at 6 p.m. Friday the 22nd of October at 6 p.m. And we're in a state where Victoria has reached 70% double dose vaccine. I think we've reached 90%, of first dose, and we're looking to hit 80% double dosed on the 24th of November. I think I've got those facts right. If I haven't, it's not too far off the mark. So that's where I'm going to end all the commentary on COVID. And again, I'm just going to leave a bit of a break for a couple of minutes of music, and then we'll come back with some further commentary for the final 60 minutes of this video, which has nothing to do with COVID, and we'll walk you through this, provide some commentary for the footage in front of us here, which we're looking south from Sth Yarra Station over some new track works, and this footage needs some commentary because for quite a while here it's just going to be trains. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Enjoy the music. Okay, welcome back to part 3 of the commentary, the director's commentary for getting vaxxed, second dose. And if you're still listening, you've been listening right the way through. Wow, thank you, because not many people do. So instead of talking more about, spending an hour and 14 minutes talking about getting 2 COVID vaccine shots, thought I might take a deep breath and switch it around a bit, because just between you and me and the internet, I am done to death, like I'm sure so many people are, just absolutely done to death with this whole COVID thing. One of the reasons is what's happening here? Sorry, there's some interesting things going on with the playback, but anyway, I'm sure it's fine. It's just, you just can't get away from it. Like what I find challenging at the moment is that I'm finding that anything can trigger my degree of the resilience factor. Anything can get through my resilience. I'm finding lately, the smallest things. So I don't drive. I don't need a car. I've got a license, but I don't need a car to get around Melbourne. I find it more convenient to use public transport. And traffic in Melbourne is Melbourne's a great place to live. It's easy to get around. It's extremely well-connected roads and whatever. But modern life, the last 10 to 15 years, there's a lot. It's just a lot more traffic. Not because the traffic flow is not because there's population is huge compared to what it was 20 years ago. I wouldn't say there's more cars on the road. I'd just say that there's more obstacles. So here at the the 47-minute mark, you're looking. The camera is fixed, and what I did was I've switched it round to a couple of different views. We're looking into the northeast, across Toorak Road, Sth Yarra Station, behind Sth Yarra Station. These towers, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they didn't exist. And Melbourne is changing rapidly, and you accept that change is always going to happen in life. But I tell you what, it's the speed that's really getting to me. I suppose that I'm now in my mid-50s. Maybe I'm turning into one of those blokes or males, or it's just that time of life where you just start to notice these things. And then behind those buildings is the Yarra River, and then across the river is Richmond, and you get the idea. And so I just thought it'd be interesting. This is a walking video channel. Yes, this is a walking video channel, but every so often I like to change it up, mostly for myself. But I hope the viewer appreciates sometimes, that there are videos. Randomly, I'll just decide in a random spur of the moment kind of way that I'll just set the camera down and record what's going on in front of the camera and going past it. This was in the first or second day of the 6th lockdown. That I was travelling outside of my 5 kilometre travel zone, and I just thought, well, yes, I've had my vaccine dose. But there's no rule that says you have to go straight back home. Although that's the idea, isn't it? That they don't want people moving around. They want to suppress the mobility of the general population. But I knew that I wasn't going to be doing much filming. Actually, after this date, I was coming up, and I'll talk about that later. I just decided to take it easy. Not that there's any roses around, but I just decided to just stop and smell the roses and make the most of my my last excursion outside my 5 kilometre zone for what ended up being 73, 74 days, which only ended last Friday. So, you know, at this stage, Melbourne had locked down hard because we had about, I think we had about 5 or 6 or 7, just maybe low double figures emerged that had come down from Sydney. I'm not going to go through that, any of that, retelling that. It's just a fact what happened. You can look it up on Google and read it for yourself in The Guardian or The Age or whatever news outlet you like to use. And it just exploded. So what I thought I'd talk about for the next, we've got about maybe over an hour left. Have we over an hour left? Halfway through. Anyway, for however long we are, and here we're just breaking into another montage of clips, which I just stuck in here just to break it up for the viewers. So we're just jumping back to the walk down Toorak Road, and I just wanted to break it up basically for the viewer, if you're wondering why this is jumping around. But so I just thought I'd talk a bit, given this as a commentary, all these commentaries I've been doing all the way through. I've been doing commentary over videos that have already been published, basically. And when I started this channel, and I'll tell you a little bit about the channel, I figured after the pandemic broke,
Welcome to this walking life.
And the opportunity, I was thinking, well, the opportunity to do something while I was
lockdown,
looking for a job,
over 200 days,
because I was adamant that I wanted to come out of this pandemic, because it wasn't, you know, none of us knew how long it was going to last, but naturally I wanted to use my time productively. And so when I thought, well, what's easier than walking around the streets with a camera? There's so many walking video channels from all around the world, all sorts of major cities and minor cities and whatever. I figured, well, that looks like a productive way to spend your time. I mean, how easy can it be walking around your hometown with a camera? And then, you know, I've got a background in marketing communications, and I've been involved in a lot of creative projects. So I figured, well, surely that's a pretty easy project, or, you know, objective to set yourself. Well, the first video I published was in, it ended up being the 1st of October 2020 with an Olympus digital handheld point and shoot camera that only shoots in SD. And I had that for, I was filming on that for until about, I think it was April. Well, guess what? It's actually not as, not that I expected this thing to explode or you know, take off, but now that I've been doing it for a year, and I've only got 25 subscribers, I've only had, I think I've had 90, I'll just check it now, I think I've had 90 watch hours. Where is it? 92.6 watch hours and only 3,236 views over 12 months, and I've only got 25 subscribers. It's fair to say that although I didn't set myself any goals or unrealistic goals, or like I really didn't even, like I've never been a person who's wanted to create content for YouTube anyway. Like I'm basically just trying to, you know, I've never been afraid to have a go at things with my various creative things that I've undertaken, but I've got to say, after a year of, and I think I've published around about, let's see, I think I've published around about 150 videos. Here we go. I've uploaded 190, so I've got 286 likes. I didn't know that, or is that my likes? So, you know, to put together 190 videos, that's pretty disappointing. But on the other hand, like, you know for a fact that YouTube YouTube is a tricky animal. So for me, being in my mid-50s, not being a camera person, starting off with a camera that had no gimbal and only shoots in SD, well, you know, I'm not too surprised, but it gave me a chance to test out some theories, and the commentaries are all about, you know, filling in the viewer on why I was doing what I was doing, how I was going about it, documenting my experience, trying to identify segments, trying to learn from what other people had did and done, and that I watched a lot of walking video channels. So it's fair to say that by April I realised that the numbers were not great, so I figured, well, maybe I'm just going to have to lash out on a new camera. So I researched as extensively as I could. I'm not a camera guy or a tech guy. I settled upon the Sony ZV-1 vlogging camera, and I thought, well, surely there's going to be an improvement, because it takes 4K footage, the audio is better, but guess what? So 6 months later, the channel, and I realised this maybe about June. So I hadn't recorded many videos with the Sony, but it started to dawn on me that the Sony wasn't the answer. It was I was still recording without a gimbal. I found the Sony was not as easy to handle, and I found that that even though it recorded better footage and you could do it without a gimbal, and I bought a shooting grip as well, it just wasn't attracting viewers and watch time that I was expecting. I was expecting to see a significant change in, you know, watch time hours. I was expecting to see a lot more hits in terms of views, but the only thing is the subscribers. Well, let's see here. Since April, they've only gone up by about 12. So it's been, you know, disappointing all around. And so now I'm at the stage where I haven't been filming for. I didn't film much in August. I haven't filmed. Yeah, August, September. I hardly filmed anything. Maybe nothing actually. I just had some stuff in the archives from the SD camera, and I made a decision in early September. I've changed it up again, that I've bought a DJI Pocket Osmo that does have a gimbal and is a lot more compact, but I don't have a smartphone, and I deliberately bought it knowing that it can be attached to a smartphone, but also seeing in my research that you could use it without a smartphone, and I was prepared to do that because I don't actually like walking around with the camera shouting in a visual sense, hey, look at me, I'm filming everything. I don't like that at all. I like being discreet, not secretive, but yeah, so I haven't actually filmed anything with that camera because being in, you know, lockdown number 6, I can't go to the camera shop and go in and I'll get them to activate it. So so I guess this channel, yes, it's been great to experiment. What have I learnt? I'm not quite sure that I've learnt how to. I'm not quite sure that I've learnt or taught myself how to make great thumbnails. I'm not sure that I've actually cracked the challenge of writing good titles. So there's probably 3 factors there that I really haven't come to grips with. And I know for a fact, and I'll out myself here, is that my the detail, there's far too much detail in my video descriptions, because that's just who I am. Like I tend to, I wish I was a less is more type person, but as you can probably tell from even just the way I'm speaking in this commentary, you can probably tell that, you know, it does, just my very nature is that it does take me quite a while to get to the point. I'm not overly succinct, I'm not, there's brevity isn't one of my key strengths as a creative or as a marketing communications person. And what I've come to grips with, well, through this YouTube channel a bit is, you just got to be yourself, and you can't. A lot of this creating content for YouTube or for anything is a lot about self-expression. And I'm just we're at the hour mark, and the camera has shifted position, so we're just basically looking south, just as a visual reference for the commentary, and where, if you're watching the footage as well, we're just looking over the work site for the Melbourne Metro Tunnel southern entrance, and I'll talk about that a bit later. And why I chose to film here. So so that's a little bit about the channel, the evolution of it. The evolution of it. Well, yeah, it's evolved. I've stuck to a publishing strategy, but I haven't been, and I've been pretty good with the consistency of my uploads, but I haven't been anal about making videos a certain length, that they have to be always 10 minutes, or they have to be always half an hour, or they have to be always an hour. My main goal was to publish 2 videos a week. I decided on a strategy of putting together teaser videos that would showcase upcoming longer videos on the same topic. I would put up teaser videos of 2 to 5 minutes in length whenever whenever I felt like doing it. That I would do a commentary video that they would always go up on Saturday mornings, but it didn't have to be every week, just whenever I got the opportunity. That's how it evolved. Now, has that affected viewership? Well, I suppose you'd have to say yes. Maybe people. So the reason I've gone for a new camera, the DJ Osmo Pocket, is because it's got a gimbal. It's automatically going to record in 4K at 60 frames per second. I just want to point and shoot, record, publish, distribute. That's all I want to do, and I want to do it so that I get views and subscribers, and let YouTube algorithm take care of the rest. Like I've got to a point where the channel's evolved that people are definitely watching the first 30 or 40 seconds, and I get the majority of people drop out. I often hardly ever know why people watch for longer. Somebody 2 or 3 months ago watched 3 hours worth of footage. I don't know why they did that. They've never come back. I've got one video that's constantly getting hit, and usually only gets between 30 seconds and 2.5 minutes of view time each hit. I've got only 2 videos over 100 views. I've got a third one on 98, and as I just said, I've uploaded and published around 190, and the vast majority have only got between 1 view and maybe 35 views, and very, very slow hit rate and conversion rate. And the overall for the channel, it's about 1.4% click through. The better videos are getting around anywhere between 5 and 10% click through, but most of them, anywhere between 0.7 and 2.5, and that's over the their lifetime, not the channel lifetime. So why do we do these things? Like we want people seeing our stuff. That's why we write. That's why we write songs. That's why we create art. That's why we make films. That's why we play guitar. That's why we act. That's why we want people to see our stuff. So so now that I'm a year into this, and I'm finding, well, the strategies, and this is my second topic, the strategies, I'll just note down the time, 1 hour 5 minutes, but the strategies, well, maybe the strategies that I've been pursuing, and we've got about another 35 minutes, walkers. Maybe the strategies that I set myself, just aren't working, and I've got to face up to that. But a little bit of the strategy is dependent on my equipment, the camera. I take screenshots using the editing software for the thumbnails. I've consistently been using. I tried recently to adapt a thumbnail that was a sort of a more landscape view of what was in front of the camera, as opposed to a close shot of people or cars that I was trying to use since day one. It's hard to know, because if people aren't commenting on the videos, and I get very, very few comments, and now the camera's moving again at the hour 6 mark. What am I doing here? Oh, I'm shifting it. I'm just changing the angle slightly so that I get more of that gantry, I think. Anyway, so if people aren't commenting, it makes it very, like, I find that the analytics, and so we'll get onto the numbers here at the hour 6 mark. I'm finding that the numbers in the analytics, because people aren't watching much, so if they're not watching the whole video after they drop out at 30 seconds, well, the numbers in the analytics aren't really teaching me anything, to be honest. Now, if somebody, I've watched a lot of creator commentary about analytics and how to use analytics to study, what's working, but with a walking video, I find I think, and I was nearly about to say, tell me if I'm wrong, but nobody's going to, so I'm just talking into thin air here. But I guess walking videos are all about aesthetics, and people want to see. I'm assuming that it took me many months to work out, and this is why I bought the DJ Osmo. So here we are at the minute 7 mark, and we're just shifting to side street location, minute 7 mark. So I'm walking around the side of the railway line here to another spot where I thought I was going to get a perfect view across the tracks, which I didn't, and you'll see that in about 5 minutes. So the reason I decided to buy a second camera was that I suppose I was looking at revisiting some of those walking channels that I'd been inspired by, or was trying to steal some ideas off. That I suppose I had to acknowledge to myself that as still as I could hold the camera, whether it was the Olympus or the Sony ZV-1 vlogging camera, as still as I could hold it or manage to hold it, it was still maybe too shaky for people, that they want a perfect a perfect frame that just does not move from left to right or up or down or side to side. As much as I try to hold the camera still, it's still maybe it's just too shaky for what people want to invest their time in. Maybe it's too distracting. Maybe people are just so friggin' anal about the quality of the footage that as soon as they see the camera tilting, and we're walking up this side street here, and it's about as still as I can hold it, but you'll see that there's some jerky movements as we go around the right into this laneway, and you can see the gantry in front of us on the other side of the tracks. Maybe for certain people, even though the footage is great, it's 4K, maybe they just want a perfectly still frame. So that's where this channel doesn't meet those standards, because there's no gimbal. And I did go into a store when I had the chance, and now the reason I went up to this sign is because what I decided to do was, because I couldn't get any decent footage at all through the fence to get to capture the activity the way I wanted, I decided that I would fast forward it, and I used the sign as a sort of a editorial marker to help in the edit. Now you can see what I didn't realise the gantry was moving while I was filming it. So you'll notice in this particular sequence, and that's where it changes back to normal speed, but you'll also notice when we get back to Turak Road, you'll notice that the gantry is moving. Because what I do for the last 2 or 3 or 4 minutes of this video, it's all sped up. So you'll see the gantry moving at quite a pace as the footage is sped up, which I didn't realise it was doing, because obviously in real life it's it's moving at less than snail's pace. So what I've come to acknowledge is, well, I hate giving up. I hate giving up on anything. And this channel is supposed to be my my pandemic success story. That, you know, in the future, when future bloke who walks looks back through the mists of time and says to present bloke who walks, you know, what did you do during the pandemic? The answer will be, well, I tried my level best to get this walking video channel, this walking life, and the other ideas that I had. I tried my level best to get it up and running. I gave myself the best opportunity, and that's how I spent my time in lockdown. Because let's face it, as I've already said in this video, according to the Victorian State Government and the New South Wales State Government, Sydney and Melbourne will never go into lockdown again, no matter how many thousands of case numbers there are. And excuse my French, but Jesus bloody Christ, I mean, you see those numbers of 44,000 people a day in the UK, still thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands in America, and, you know, India's dropped out of the news. Singapore is getting 100,000 a day, or Japan was getting horrendous amounts of cases a day until the last couple of weeks. So, but you know, it's a real head spin to now be sitting here and knowing that life in Melbourne will be almost back to normal for a huge majority of the population, starting last Friday night, as we hit our new double dose vaccination targets. So I would love some feedback. The best feedback you can give me is in the numbers. If people start watching these videos in greater numbers, that I'm getting more subscribers. I'm lucky to get 2 subscribers a month, and sometimes somebody drops off, and you know, you lose a bit of ground. But that's the best way for me to tell if this thing's working. Because as I said before, I'm just not getting comments. So what's the future for this channel is I'm a little unsure, because I'm not as motivated. Now the reason the camera's tilting here is because I've got the shooting grip attached to the camera, and I'm trying to hold the camera still while extending the tripod legs on the shooting grip so that it'll just sit there by itself. And we've got about another that's one thing I was really reluctant to do, was to have myself in the frame, but I decided to spin it round to get the eastern viewpoint of the station from behind the tram stop, but I couldn't. I had the viewfinder flipped out, but it's on the left, and so I had to. There's no way. And the one thing I didn't think of, I didn't want to walk in front of the camera, and in public, I didn't want to duck down under the camera because I don't want to draw attention to myself. But that's why you can see a bit of me. And I decided, and I was just having. Oh dear, I was just having a bit of trouble. I was just having a bit of trouble framing up the shot to get what I wanted to get, but I was trying to line it up so because I wanted two trams to pull up at the same time from opposite directions, so that's why I'm fiddling around a bit. I think I got that in the first setup from the other side of the bridge, but I don't think I got two trams in this particular setup, so that's why I was fiddling around a lot, and I wanted to make sure I was getting a bit of action with the pedestrians and whatever. So like as I said before, I didn't go straight home from getting the second vaccine shot. I was probably meant to, but I figured, well, I think I might have had my shopping bag with me. Another little trick for those of you still living in lockdown is if you take your shopping bag with you and you've been out for longer than your allocated time, which on this day was 2 hours, you're supposed to only be out for exercise for 2 hours. Well, I could say, yes, I have been out for more than 2 hours, but I'm still doing my shopping. But I never got asked. But yeah, I did feel a bit self-conscious. I felt like I was letting the team down in one sense, because I do like to do the right thing, but I decided that this was a worthwhile exercise because it's normally Toorak Road where we are here is extremely busy with people still checking my brain at the hour 16 mark. So oh, that's right. I couldn't. Do you know? Oh, look at the haircut. Now I just got my haircut today. That I haven't had a haircut since just before that day, and my hair. Oh, I'm not even going to start. Anyway, so I got it cut today by a very this Chinese lady who did my hair today. She was basically literally attacking my head with her clippers, like literally jabbing the clippers into the side of my head, the back of my head, the other side of my head. I have never experienced a haircut like it. Yeah. Anyway, so I just decided to get all sides of Sth Yarra Station that day, because it is interesting. I'm sure in the future it might be interesting to look back at all this footage randomly and say, well, this is what life was like when people were forced, to stay at home, work from home, exercise near their home, not allowed to drive around the city, not allowed to go see friends and family. This is literally what it looks like, and this is late in the morning on a winter's morning. And normally, this particular, Toorak Road is one of Melbourne's busiest arterial roads. Very busy retail shopping precinct. You saw the towers before that are behind the camera on the eastern side of the station. Anyway, so what's ahead for this channel? So I interrupted myself. So we've got about still about 20 minutes left, so there's plenty of time. But what's ahead for this channel? Well, I'm pleased with the channel in that I've stuck to my guns, despite only having 25 subscribers, despite only 2 videos have got over 100 views. I think one video has 15. Oh, let's have a look at it now. I'll just tell you, there are some encouraging signs. There are some encouraging signs. Now, how do I get this up? Lifetime engagement. Where is it? Engagement. Watch time. Oh, here we go. Watch time. So, my best video has got 15.7 hours. The second one is 7.1, 4.7, 2.9, 2.8. Now you've got to remember that they're not all the one length. But the average view duration, one's got nearly 12 minutes, one's nearly got 14 minutes. So there's some encouraging signs there, and there's one that I'm very pleased with. My laneways video, an extract. No, my main laneways video, which is an extract hardware lane, has got nearly 14 minutes of viewing time, even though it's only got 2 views. So so there's some encouraging signs there, and I figure the other reason that I'm not too beating myself up too much is because it does, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's a well-known fact that YouTube is not a medium that explodes overnight, unless, I don't know how you make it explode overnight, but I know, there's some channels I've watched where people have been going for 4 or 5 years before they've really got their, got some volume in terms of subscribers and views and watch time, whatever. So, there's no commercial pressure on this. It's really just a matter of well, am I still motivated enough? That's the future of this channel. Is it all boils down to motivation. Now, am I doing it for money? Well, you got to say no, because there's no way knowing you can make a job out of this. So it then becomes a case of, well, is it something you want to keep investing your time into? Well, why not? But I have to admit that I'm not as motivated about creating these videos as I was a year ago, because for all the reasons I just stated, that the main reason is that people aren't watching. So I suppose YouTube's not promoting the videos. I'm assuming that whoever does see the thumbnails is ignoring them for whatever reason, or so I can only just try and keep evolving. So maybe it's got to the stage where I've got to say to myself, all right, well, the strategies, and I think there's nothing wrong with my overall strategy, that I'm focused on events in Melbourne. I'm focused on laneways in Melbourne. I'm focused on filming things that Melbourne's known for, putting the viewer in and around that. That you can be a visitor to Melbourne living vicariously through this channel. There's also an element of people watching about it. So, but maybe I've got to admit that I've got to do far more better work with the thumbnails and the title description, and maybe I've got to really be really harsh on the amount of detail I put in the video descriptions field. So I guess I haven't been able to put my finger on it, but I'm also not ready to quit. I've tried to start other channels about property, this property life, this genealogy life, this what are the other channels? This public transport life, and then there's a separate channel for my creative web series, and they're the same. There's not much traction there at all. So overall, for the effort that's been put in, the return on investment of time is pretty poor. But you sort of think, well, do you give up? That's the alternative, is do you give up, or do you just keep trying to tweak, and do you just keep doing what a lot of the advice is, which is to just be consistent, consistently uploading. I acknowledge that maybe my problem is that I'm like, there's another channel from Melbourne that I keep an eye on. He seems to this person seems to film all the same places I do, but he's putting up something every day, and it's always around 10 to 15 minutes only. So do I need to change? Do I need to be stricter with myself, that there's are people really wanting that appointment type viewing experience where it's a definite known length of time? I like to put up really long videos of anywhere between an hour. My longest one is 3 hours, but usually 1 to 90 minutes, 1 hour to 90 minutes to 2 hours, because it makes sense to me that if more people are watching longer videos, we're going to achieve your watch time targets. But maybe if you've got the 10-minute videos and hundreds more of people are watching 10-minute videos all the way through, So maybe I've got to address that. So so that was a few of the thoughts going through my head when I decided to buy this second camera with the inbuilt gimbal. It's smaller. So maybe, you know, besides the jerky camera movement, like I always hold the camera around about my hip level because, well, I just don't want to walk in public with a hand held up to my chest in a sort of a half salute. But maybe I do. Maybe people do want to see the camera pointing at the street and the view being captured. That they do want it at head level or chest level. Maybe that's also part of the problem. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because you, the viewers, you're not telling me. It's only by absence of views and the little bit of time that is watched for each video, which is really not feedback that I can discern any sort of direction to take this channel in. So all I can do is keep comparing myself to channels that I've seen. I've got about maybe 20 to 40 walking video channels, and here we are again at the hour 26 mark. We're on the move, I think, possibly. Yeah, I think from here we're moving to the train platform. Now, I'll finish off what I was going to say is that I've got about 20 to 40 walking video channels, you know, saved in my browser tab that I go to every so often. I go for a flick through. I just can't see any discernible one thing that makes a successful, you know, belting huge following channel. You know, one channel's in Japan, and this was the one that gave me the idea to have you know, 40 seconds of clips at the start of the video to give the viewer a sense of what's coming up in the video. I've been trying to use that consistently. Other videos, you know, they seem to have predominantly nighttime videos. So I really, the answer is I haven't really cracked it. But again, I think it comes back to, you know, it's all about self-expression, and you've got to be yourself. And the other thing is, like, you know, I'm spending so much time creating these videos just by thinking about, well, what do I film next? Where do I film? Where do I go? The effort of, you know, charging up the camera, charging the battery in the camera, you know, swapping batteries while I'm filming, concentrating while I'm filming, expending emotional energy filming. The amount of time it takes to edit one of these videos is far longer than I would like. You know, just I hate making mistakes. Like, usually if I find a mistake in a video that has finished rendering, and I see something there I don't like, whether it's a spelling mistake in the title or something, if I do it again, well, that's you know, I've effectively wasted time, because I've spent double the amount of time on the one video to get it published. And then there's the uploading factor. I've noticed the 4K takes so much longer to upload to YouTube. It might take 3 to 4 hours for a 30, 40, 60-minute video. And I've found that I can't move the laptop once it's started rendering in the Filmora software, or else I have to start again. So yeah, there's a lot of effort that goes into it, isn't it? Now we're coming up to the last 10 minutes or so of this video, and so I'll just finish off on this point. And I've made a commitment to keep filming. I've made a commitment to buy this new camera and spend more money. So that's about, I've spent about, so the Sony, so the first camera was the Olympus, that I bought 3 batteries for that. I think each battery set me back $10 to $20. I bought the Sony. I had to buy new battery coverage for that. So I like swapping batteries, you know, so that I can keep filming. That was how much was that? Was that 800 or 900? So that's already about $1,000 on camera and batteries. Now I've decided to buy a third camera, and that was how much was that? $300, I think. I can't quite remember. I think it was about, I got it at a discount. That was the good thing. I think it was about 280. I think I might be wrong, but anyway, you can say, so let's round it off and give it a generous round off. So maybe $1,400 I've spent on cameras and batteries in a year during a pandemic while I'm unemployed. And then you've got to add in the cost of the software, which is about $120, I think, for the Filmora software subscription. Then you've got to add in the cost of the mini hard drive. So that was about 100 and something. So that's nearly $1,600 I've spent just to be able to record and publish a video to YouTube. So so that's another reason why I don't want to quit, is because I've gone to a lot of effort. I've spent a lot of money on an activity that really I'll admit that I'm not very good at. That although I think these walking video channels are a no-brainer for a YouTuber, they're a no-brainer for a YouTuber who's knows what they're doing, has great camera equipment, can render the videos to, you know, muck around with the lighting and the in-camera effects, and, you know, make it look as schmick as all get out. Now we're just going from the platform. We're just going from the platform back to Toorak Road for the bridge over the tracks here, and I'm just spending the last 10 minutes. So this footage is in fast forward. I think I've put it to times 10. And so if you keep an eye on the crane in front, and later on the gantry on the right, and we'll swap around to the other view as well, but you'll see those moving around at pace. Here comes a train. It reminds me of a kid's train set when I see the train go that fast. But I just wanted to break this up for the viewer. That I just wanted to make it, you know, a little bit interesting to look at. Now we're going to switch positions, I think. Now this is a problem with the Sony, that when I set it up, you'll see that the Sony was dipped to a point where it was taking in the foreground, and I didn't realise that it was focused on the foreground, and so everything in the background was blurred. But you can get out of that by being switched on. That you hit the C1 button. For those that know the Sony ZV-1 vlogging camera, you hit the C1 button and it won't do that background blurring bit. So we're back. Here comes another train from Sandringham. This is times 10, I think. And you'll see the crane and the gantry eventually will start moving fairly quickly. Look at it go around that corner. So yeah, so to finish off, the summary is this channel will keep going, and hopefully next week I'll be able to get the DJ Osmo Pocket Osmo activated with help from Ted's cameras in Melbourne. And maybe I might change the publishing schedule a bit, where maybe I might publish 10 to 12 minute videos every single day, and a commentary stick to Saturdays whenever there's one available, because I like doing the commentaries, because I haven't seen another walking video channel do commentaries on their content, and it's a sort of a compromise for me, because although I've got a lot of experience acting in front of the camera, I haven't got a lot of experience being comfortable as myself in front of the camera. And I don't feel as skilled as a presenter as I do an actor. And I think that, you know, the best YouTube channels who have the, you know, the highest number of subscribers and the greatest number of views And a genuine entertainment is when you have somebody on camera who's relaxed and you know, presents there goes the gantry. Look at it move. See, I had no idea when I was filming this. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't even know it was moving, because in real life, obviously, it's not moving that fast. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to see the finished product. And here comes the train, and then you see the gantry move again. It was fun to see the gantry moving like that. That's just amazing. And I was down there again today, actually, and I saw it moving. And it doesn't move that fast in real life, obviously. So we're coming up to the last, there's about 5 minutes to go, so I'm just going to free associate here. And you might well say, if you've listened to any of this commentary, let alone the whole lot, you might say that that's all I do ad infinitum is free associate and jump too randomly from one thought to the other. But that's the way I like to roll. Like, I don't like to map out these commentaries too much, because it's a more dynamic experience, I think. To, you know, that it's a one-sided conversation for sure, but maybe it's a bit more real, a bit more authentic. That I'm just trying to talk off the top of my head as though having a conversation with someone. So, but yeah, I don't want to be in front of the camera for these videos. I don't. The only reason that I do introduce the videos is it seems to make sense to me to sort of give it some context. I like the moniker about the bloke who walks. It's a play on the phrase from the Phantom comics, the ghost who walks. Like I just like that branding idea. I think it works. I think the intro is short enough that it, you know, I'm playing around with, well, do I have it at the start, or do I have do people want to see a completely visceral video, that they just want to see the camera moving through the streets and capturing what's in front of its lens? Do they want somebody speaking? Do they not want somebody speaking? Look, again, you know, these are all questions that can't be answered by analytics, because they're just numbers. And what I know for sure is that there's no one answer. So I guess we'll just keep on keeping on, and we'll just keep trying and tweaking and seeing what works. So there's about maybe what's that, 7, maybe there's about 4 to 5 minutes left. So I'm going to finish up here, because there's no point trying to you know, bang on infinitum until the last second of the video. So I'm going to, as the video finishes, we'll end up on the platform shortly at back at Sth Yarra Station. Originally my plan was to film all the way of the trip from Sth Yarra Station on the train back to my home base, but I realised that I've already got one train trip in this vaccination series, travelling on the train, so there was no, you know, finishing on the platform was probably not a bad way to do it. So thanks for your patronage of This Walking Life. Whether you've been a subscriber or a visitor, a viewer for 1 minute, 10 minutes, or you've watched and listened to the whole bloody thing, thanks. Any feedback you've got, I'd love to hear it. I really would. But at the moment, these commentary videos, they're lucky if they get more than 4 or 5 views in their lifetime, no matter whether that's they're a week old or a year old. So and I'm going to keep doing them, because you never know. Like one of my theories is that eventually, just through sheer weight of numbers and over time, so in 5 years' time, maybe they will be getting hundreds of views. Who knows? Because commentaries for these walking videos are definitely a point of difference. I'm the bloke who walks. You've been watching the content creators commentary of the bloke who walks getting his second vaccine shot at the Alfred Hospital's Vaccine Hub in Melbourne on the 17th of August 2021. I'm the bloke who walks. Bye for now.
and we've just been for our second vaccine shot at the Alfred Hospital. Today we're walking from the Alfred Hospital north through Fawkner Park. We're getting the tram down to Punt Road, walking up Turak Road to Sth Yarra Station, and the train from Sth Yarra Station to Richmond changes at Richmond to the Belgrade-Lilydale line home to Blackburn. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're coming in 4K